and happy Wednesday? No, hello and happy Sunday, One Stars. There we go. Welcome to Tea with the Universe. You might notice that I am not Cynthia. Ooh. So Cynthia actually made a surprise visit to her family in Ontario. So that's where she is. And she asked me to do the Tea with the Universe this week because the area that she's in is kind of a little bit spotty with the internet and all that. So I do have a guest coming. He's just running a little bit late. Hi, Daphne. It's nice to see you. All right. So now that Cynthia is with her family, she is celebrating and visiting with family, so that's wonderful for her. And I thought today would be a great day to talk about a little bit of the stuff that's going on. Yes. And one of the things that has been on a lot of people's minds is about the succession of supermoons that's coming up. Now, before I get into that too much, I actually have a poll question for you guys. So let's see if I can pull it up here for you guys. I have, which one do I want to do first? We'll do this one. So this one is asking, what constitutes as a supermoon? So if you know what it is, or do you know what constitutes as a supermoon? So if you know what it is, you can say yes or whatever you feel like saying, and we'll go over what it actually is. I'm a bit of a science nerd, so well, hello, beautiful. Yes, the full moons are out. In fact, today is a full moon, and at around 12, I think it was 48, it transitioned into Leo, which is my sun sign, so I'm pretty happy about that. If you're one of those people that has a lot of Leo energy in your charts, you usually tend to be quite fiery and opinionated, and you're a get-her-done kind of person. So it's like, that's nice that you want to do that, but it should have been done yesterday. Okay, so I forgot what I was going to say, but one of the things that I was going to talk about is Melissa from Hayward's Eclectic makes herbal teas, and I was fortunate enough to get some herbal tea from her at the last market that I was at. I brought her some dandelion root and leaves, and she gave me a tea called Boost. A Boost has dogbane and lemon balm in it, so that's what I'm drinking today. And I needed to take a breath anyway because I ran down the flight of stairs going, oh no, I'm going to be late. All right, so Cynthia will be back next week to be able to talk about whatever comes up. The teas are magical. They're wonderful. And if you would like to get some of Melissa's teas, oh, here he is, my guest for today. This is Vincent. He's my son, and we're going to talk a little bit about him and what he does a little bit later on. But yeah, if you'd like to get any of Melissa's teas, they have the website, so it's haywardseclectic.com, and they also have a Facebook page, and that's also Hayward's Eclectic. And they don't just do teas, but I'm just promoting the tea because that's what we have. And yours is different because I didn't have any more left. Okay. Okay. And I don't know how hot your water is.
It's fine.
So yes, this is Vincent Wright. He's my son. You know?
Yeah.
And he graciously agreed to be on today after I put him on the spot and said please. So I figured what we could do is talk a little bit about the supermoons and what that means. So scientifically, do you know what a supermoon is?
Vaguely.
Okay, and well, you've obviously heard the term.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just put up a poll. It's like, do you know what constitutes as a supermoon? So I kind of knew as well, but I decided to look up some of the information and find out what it was that a supermoon actually is. Now, the astrological term was actually coined by a guy by the name of Richard Knoll, okay? And it was in 1979 that he actually first used this term. A supermoon constitutes as the 90% of the orbit of the moon is the closest to the planet. So what does that mean to non-geeky science folk? So when you talk about an orbit, there's an apogee, which is the furthest away, so apogee away, and you have what's called the, oh, I forget what it's called now, the perigee, because there's two different terms, but the perigee is the closest. So if you think perigee, it's like pretty close. So P and A, perigee, apogee. So the way that you calculate it is the furthest point and the closest point, and you calculate that. So if it's within a certain amount, it's considered a supermoon. And according to Richard Knoll, it is 361,885 kilometers in distance. So it's like from the center of the moon to the center of the Earth, you calculate that distance, and that constitutes a supermoon if it falls within that. Other people that you talk to have a different opinion, but there you go, scientific, geeky, guru, me. That is my definition of a supermoon. So what are some things that you normally typically do on a full moon? Like, do you do rituals? Do you do any kinds of magic or chanting or anything that you'd like to share? You don't have to share.
Mostly cleansing, and also I always leave out a jar of water on a full moon.
Mm-hmm.
So I have full moon water for the next.
Full moon water up in that.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah.
Yeah. My flowers always grow better if I water them with full moon water. So.
That's cool. So yeah, if you were interested in finding out about the supermoon, there you go. So now that you know a little bit more about supermoons, I'm going to publish this one. How many supermoons do you think there is in the year? How many do you think?
I've heard different people say different things.
Okay.
But like between 3 and 5, or 3 and 6, somewhere in there, I think.
Okay, good guess. So can we talk a little bit about what you do and different things that encourage you or inspire you to be the best being that you can be?
Well, oh, do you mean like in general or magic-wise?
In general, magic-wise, I know that you have been on quite a journey, so whatever you'd like to share about that as well, and different things that have kind of helped you and given you encouragement might also help some other people.
Okay, well, I've been on an adventure the last few years. 2013 to 2017 wasn't too good for me. It was really awful, but about 2016 to now, I got back into my like magical side. I got back into, I tuned myself with the universe more this previous year, and I started doing actual treatments, so medications, but also I started doing more rituals and cleansing ceremonies and bathing with rocks on the side of the tub, like stones. And I feel a lot better. And it's given me the motivation to kind of, I've gone into some different communities and helped teach people or learn from people about more of this, like being in tune with your spiritual side, and like being more magic-y, and because especially people assume that it's a very like ritual based, like a few days a week or sort of thing, but there is like a lot of ways to just sprinkle it into your everyday life.
Well, I know like when I was 18 or whatever, there was a lot of structure-based stuff out there. So it's like you had to do a certain type of ritual on a specific day in a specific phase of the moon, using certain colors and herbs. And to a certain extent, there is that, but I feel there's a lot more fluidity.
Yeah.
And because we allow ourselves a chance to go, well, that might work for you, but this works for me.
Because I know when I first was getting into magic, all I had to go off of was like online and your Book of Shadows, which you had written when you were my age.
Yeah.
So it was very like ritual based, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this getting into it. I do it now, but even the rituals aren't like super specific. I just do what feels best for me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like very energy based, and I know there is some ritual aspects to it, but if I'm supposed to be doing a ritual and everything I'm thinking is telling me you should not be doing this ritual, like do it tomorrow if you can, like push it 2 hours, anything, then I'm going to do that because my energy is closer to like what's actually going to be best for my magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the same for everyone.
So as you've been kind of going down your spiritual path and your magical awareness, how a lot of people like to put things into labels and categories and stuff, but how has it kind of encouraged you to open up to, say, your own intuition? And like, you know, today is a full moon in Leo, so how does that affect you? Like, is it something that is prominent in your life, or is it something that you recognize and just kind of go, okay, and move from?
It kind of depends, because I also have like deities that I worship. I worship Aphrodite and Dionysus. So it also depends on how I'm feeling with them.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, should I do this today? Do I need to do this today? Do you want me to do this today? Like this ritual, because I know it's a ritual day. Do you want me to do this today? And then usually I'll get some kind of like vibe where I'm like, I don't think I need to. And I have a big issue with, I have like chronic fatigue. So sometimes I can't get up and like do a whole ritual. But sometimes I'm like, I think just lighting some candles and setting up an offering is enough for today.
Mm-hmm.
But usually during specific moon cycles, I get more energized and then get more or less motivated. So I have to like gauge what days are best for me to do a ritual based on my own energy, my own mental state. So I can't always fall into like what the correct day is. Sometimes I'm like, well, I can't do this for another like 3 days, but I'm going to do it then.
Okay. Well, and that's, I think, another thing that people fall into. They feel like it has to be on that day specifically, like it has to be on a new moon or it has to be on a full moon. But a lot of that energy that of whatever you're trying to accomplish can happen like 3 days before or 3 days after a full or new moon.
Mm-hmm.
Like that vibration is still available. It's still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, when I was going through a lot of my initiation and learning who I was, I remember learning about this is the only stuff you're allowed to do during a full moon, and this is the only stuff you're allowed to do during a new moon. Like, these are the things that are best for these. But as I kept going, I'm like, well, I don't see the new moon as something that is a completion. I see it as a beginning. And the full moon is something that is ripe and ready for harvest instead of a beginning of a cycle. So where do you see yourself in that? Like when you do like spells or rituals, do you find that, say, during a full moon you have a propensity to start things or finish cycles?
Oh, during full moons I definitely finish cycles. I have where it's during Litha, is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
During Litha, I have where I will light a candle for a week.
Right.
and like just let it burn for that week. For the first year I did it, I actually made it into a new candle every day because I had wicks. So I would, like, as it melted, I would just like pour it in to another thing with a wick, and then I would just keep burning the same candle. I don't do that anymore. I just put out like 7 different candles.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? You use what you have available to you.
So I always have like something that I do for like a week during, and I start with the holidays, and then I end, sometimes I end on like a moon cycle, sometimes I'm just like, okay, I think this is enough. Moons don't really affect me as much as a lot of witches. It's more, I'm more like weather type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, where I get really energized during like rainstorms, and I go collect rainwater, and then during like really sunny days, I have a hard time getting up.
I used to really love it when it was super windy out. The only thing is it would always hurt my ears, so I'd have to put like cotton or something in my ears so that I didn't get an earache. But I would be out there and the wind would be whipping around me. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. So this guy here says, how many supermoons are there this year? So in 2020, depends on who you ask how many supermoons there are. So general consensus says that there are 4 supermoons and that there are 3 new moons, or like super new moons. Depends on how you calculate what a supermoon is. So I mentioned the center of the moon to the center of the earth, and that elliptical with the epigee and the I can never remember that word. Perigee. Sorry? Oh, yeah.
Just in case.
Okay. So depending on how you calculate it, there are 7 or there are 10. So according to Richard Knoll, who was the guy who coined the term supermoon, there are only 6 this year. If you go with some other astronomers or astrological philosophers, they say anywhere from 7 to 10, depending. So I think that this one today is close to being a supermoon. I think it's like the 4th closest. And then you talk about different moons that are coming up. So the one in April, actually the moon itself is closest on the 7th, but the full moon is on the 8th. So, you know, which one's going to be stronger? Is it going to be on the 7th when it's the closest to the earth, or is it going to be on the 8th when it's the fullest?
Yeah.
Right? So I guess it depends on how the energy affects you, or what you set for yourself as a guidepost, I suppose. Right? So one of the other things that I kind of wanted to touch on while I have you here, I was going to say there's water too if you're still really thirsty, was I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what you do as a profession. So you're an artist.
Yeah.
And you do commissions. Because if any of you have actually seen the print version of the Weekly Wand, those little icons that are in the energy scopes were actually commissioned. I commissioned Vince to make those for the Weekly Wand, as well as the little Wando who is in there. You created him as well for me, and some of the backgrounds every once in a while that I have on the website have been graciously created. Well, not graciously because I paid him. Have been created by Vincent. So if somebody wanted to commission you for something, what are typically some of the things that you do for, like, what is your style or influences, things that kind of get you excited about drawing?
I do.
It's just,
That's
it's
so
an old,
loud.
it's an old computer. I have to get a new one.
Well, my personal style outside of commissions is somewhere between Western cartoons and Japanese cartoons. But
You gotta start somewhere.
I do painting and watercolor and digital art, and I do landscapes.
I was gonna say the one behind your head there. Oh, it's not on camera. You want to pull that one down?
This is old though.
Yeah, that one's an old one,
This
but
is really old.
well, what? That's 2013, I think.
Yeah, 4 years old, something like that. I don't know.
Well, 2013 would be 7 years old, but you know. Actually, no, it wouldn't be that old, right? Because you did
It's
it here.
2015.
Yeah. So anyway, that's one of them. But I'm trying to think if I have any other ones that are like really handy that you've done that are a little bit different. This is one that you're working on currently. Well, not currently, but you started working on that one a while ago.
Yeah.
So there's that.
That's like 2 years old already.
Yeah, and I know that inspiration tends to come and go with certain things, but oh yeah, the mermaid. Can you see it? Yes. So that teal, there, that one, the teal painting of the mermaid. That one was one that you also created, and I really like that one because it's mermaids are usually typically pretty and they've got this certain ethereal beauty to them, but this one is decomposing.
Yeah.
So I enjoy the juxtaposition of that. So I know that we kind of touched on the journey that you have been through, and I know that art can be therapy as well. Is that something that you've managed to incorporate in your path to wellness?
Yeah. Art. If I could not do art, I would not have lasted this long. Art is like my main form of emotional venting, and it helps me get a lot of my extra negative energy out when I'm just doing it personally for myself. But it also helps me just like put my thoughts together into something physical that I can like look at. So.
And then I think too, like for me, when I do art, it's also an outlet. Like I've got stuff that swirls around in my head and it's a way for me to get it out.
Yeah.
Same with writing. I know you do some writing as well. So if somebody wanted to commission you or wanted to see some of the artwork that you have, do you have anywhere that they could go to take a look?
I have an Instagram, a Twitter, and an email.
Okay.
My Instagram is Strawberry Spit with 2 S's, so it's SSTRAWBERRYSPIT.
Okay.
My email is even more confusing.
What is it?
RILELIES@outlook.com.
Oh, that didn't even come up. Never mind.
What are you typing?
I thought I was typing, but so your Instagram, let's see. Oh, all right.
Yeah, you're backwards. There you go.
Let's try that. 3rd time's a charm, right? We were talking about spells and charms.
No. You didn't. No. 2 S's at the beginning.
Oh.
And there's no capital, so. 2 S's.
I apologize. I thought I did put 2 S's. Oh, I need a new keyboard too, apparently.
You're really going through it right now.
I sure am. On Instagram?
Yeah. And Twitter.
Oh. And Twitter. Oh, it looks like. Oh, there we go.
And I can.
Yes, please do, because I don't know. I had a really hard time with that. Okay, so while Vince is putting up all of his stuff, if you'd like to go check out what his artwork looks like and a little bit about what he does. I would like to mention that there are a few things coming up. So Cynthia's Spirit Guide Connections is starting in 10 days, and you actually need to pre-register for that. So it is starting every Wednesday, and I think it goes to April, I want to say mid-April, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So yeah, you only have 10 days, well, actually technically 9 days to get in on that and to register for it. So Spirit Guide Connections, like if you want to get in touch with your spirit guides or figure out how to be able to do that and talk about other things and connect with other people that are just as interested in learning about astral travel or making connections. Spirit Guide Connections, again, like I said, starts in 10 days, so make sure that you get in and pre-register for that if you're interested. Okay, and then we have the Witches Night Tea and Cocktails. You going to that? Yep. Yes. So that's on March 20th from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. And there'll be all kinds of people there to do, vendors, there we go. There'll be all kinds of vendors there, like Pagan Ironworks, the Happy Bat, Northern Mint, Color Vendors and Company. There's Windy's Semporium of Whimsy. Yes. Midsummer Fairy Doors and Miniatures and Karma Creations. And actually one of the sponsors for the Witches Night Tea is actually Hayward's, which is what we talked about before. She'll be providing teas there. So if you want to try out some Melissa's teas, you definitely got to make it. And then as for readers, there is I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Korshen, I hope I said that right, who is a medium and provides other divination services. There's myself. I'll be there doing readings all night long. Cynthia is also going to be there doing readings, as well as Lee of Zephyr's Realms. He does a really great throwing of the bones, which is something that I'm pretty sure most people have not ever seen before. And there are also intuitive readings by Josie. She'll be there doing some readings as well. So it's bound to be a really great night. That's March 20th at 8 p.m. till 1 a.m. And all the proceeds for that, well, not all of them, but it is a fundraiser for SAFE. So it's Saving Animals from Euthanasia team. And so part of the proceeds are going towards raising funds for that as well. So it's bound to be an amazing night, and we look forward to seeing you there. If you are interested in any of the other markets or anything that any one of us is going to be attending, you can go to theweeklywand.ca and look up on the homepage. It's got all the events written down there. You can take a look and see where either Cynthia or myself and Cynthia and Brian or myself are going to be at any given market during the year, right? And there are a number of other things going on as well. So take a look at the website. And we also have a Tea with the Universe YouTube channel, so you can go and look that up. And this plus all the other Tea with the Universes will be on there, as well as some extras and energy scopes that Cynthia has been adding to that. So go check it out. Make sure you take a look and see what it is. And the Weekly Wand also has a YouTube channel as well, and that's where I put the general energies readings on there, as well as the live streams. And eventually there'll be other stuff going on there, just that's what's on there right now. Okay, so thank you for being my guest on Tea with the Universe.
Yep.
Thank you for letting me hijack your Tea with the Universe, Cynthia. And we hope you guys have an absolutely splendid week and do something good for yourself today, whether that's grabbing yourself a nice cup of tea or taking a nap with your puppy or your kitty, or I don't know,
take a nice candlelit bath.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, because it's the full moon, you could take like a salt bath. That would be amazing. All right, so you guys have yourselves a wonderful week, and we will see you again on Tea with the Universe next week. Or, well, at least Cynthia will. Bye.